22 years. That's how long I'd been married to Laura when everything I believed about our life together shattered like glass against concrete. I'm Richard Thompson, civil engineer, father of 3, and until recently, a man who believed in the permanence of love. Laura and I met when she was finishing her marketing degree, and I was already 3 years into my career. She was vibrant where I was steady, spontaneous where I was methodical. Everyone said we balanced each other perfectly. Our wedding day remains crystallized in my memory. Laura in her grandmother's pearl necklace, tears streaming down her face as she promised to love me forever. I built my entire life around that promise. Every overtime hour, every missed poker night with the guys, every vacation we couldn't afford but took anyway because she wanted memories with the kids. All of it was an investment in us. Our children came in quick succession. Michael at 23 months after the wedding, Sarah 2 years later, then Emma completing our family. I watched Laura transform into a mother with the same intensity she brought to everything. She organized play dates like military campaigns, researched schools with doctoral-level thoroughness, and somehow made our modest colonial feel like a mansion through sheer force of personality. The years blurred together in that comfortable way marriages do. Soccer practices, anniversary dinners at Giuseppe's, the ritual Sunday breakfast where Laura made her famous blueberry pancakes. We had our fights, what couple doesn't, but they were about normal things. Money when I wanted to save and she wanted to spend, discipline when I thought she was too soft on the kids, in-laws when her mother stayed too long at Christmas. But lately, something had shifted. It started with the business trips. Laura's marketing firm had landed some big clients, she explained, requiring face-to-face meetings in Chicago, Boston, sometimes overnight. Made sense. She'd worked hard for that promotion to senior account manager. Then came the gym membership. I'm 43, Richard. If I don't get in shape now, when will I? She reasoned. Fair enough, I thought. The new wardrobe followed naturally. Can't wear decade-old clothes to important client meetings. The late nights at the office were just dedication to her career. The password on her phone was probably company policy. Each change had a perfectly reasonable explanation. Together, they formed a pattern I was too trusting to see. Our anniversary was approaching, November 15th, the date I'd stuttered through my proposal in that little Italian restaurant that's now a Starbucks. Laura seemed excited about it, though distracted. She'd mentioned something about making it special this year, but her eyes had been on her phone when she said it. Last Tuesday, she'd rushed out for another emergency client situation, leaving her coffee untouched on the counter. She'd kissed my cheek, quick, perfunctory, like checking off a box, and her perfume was different. Heavier, the kind you notice. "Don't wait up," she'd called over her shoulder. I didn't. But I did lie awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to name the unease that had been growing in my chest like a tumor. 22 years of marriage had taught me Laura's rhythms, and something was off-key, but I pushed the thought away. This was Laura. My Laura, the mother of my children, the woman who still kept my first love letter in her jewelry box. Winter was coming early this year. I'd been meaning to reorganize the closets, get the heavy coats accessible. Laura always complained I never helped with household organization. Maybe I'd surprise her, tackle her closet while she was at one of her meetings. A small gesture, but after 22 years, small gestures were what kept marriages alive. I thought organizing her closet would be a perfect surprise before our anniversary. I had no idea the real surprise was waiting for me. The closet smelled like her, that mix of lavender softener and the expensive perfume she'd started wearing. I'd pulled out the summer clothes, creating neat piles on our bed, when my hand brushed against something hard tucked behind the winter coats. A leather-bound journal, burgundy with a small brass lock that hung open. No label, no marking on the cover. I almost put it back. Almost. But something about finding a hidden journal in the back of my wife's closet made my hands move without consulting my brain. The first page was dated 2 years ago. Laura's handwriting, the same loops and curves that signed permission slips and love notes in lunchboxes. Finally bought this journal. Need somewhere to write what I can't say, what I can't stop doing. My stomach tightened, but I kept reading. First time with Derek today. God, I'd forgotten what it felt like to be wanted, really wanted. Not just Richard's ritual Tuesday night fumbling. Derek grabbed me like he'd die if he didn't have me. We didn't even make it to the bed. Derek. Derek Hoffman from her office. The one who'd sent the Christmas card, with his wife and twin daughters. The room tilted. I sat down hard on the bed, summer dresses crushing under my weight. The entries continued, each one a knife between my ribs. Not just Derek, Andrew from the gym. Those hands, those beautiful hands. Tom from the Chicago business trips. 3 times in one night, I'm still sore. Names I didn't recognize, hotel rooms I'd never suspected, positions I didn't know she knew. But the physical betrayal wasn't the worst part. Richard made his stupid pot roast again tonight. Sitting across from him while he talked about work, all I could think about was Andrew's mouth on me 4 hours earlier. How does someone become so boring, so predictable? Every Tuesday, pot roast. Every Sunday, pancakes. Every night, the same routine. Shower at 9:30, news at 10, asleep by 10:45.20. Years of the same man doing the same things the same way. My hands shook. Pot roast was her favorite. She'd asked me to make it. The kids think he's a hero. Dad works so hard for us. If they only knew, their father is the human equivalent of watching paint dry. All those overtime hours he's so proud of, they're the best part of my week. Means I can see Tom without making excuses. Sometimes Richard looks at me with those puppy dog eyes, so full of love, and I want to scream. How can someone be so oblivious? I made love with Derek in our bed last month when he was at that conference. Washed the sheets, but kept Derek's cologne on the pillow just to see if Richard would notice. Nothing. He noticed nothing. Probably thinking about load-bearing walls or whatever engineering fills that predictable brain. The journal slipped from my hands. I ran to the bathroom, barely making it before 22 years of marriage came up with last night's pot roast. When I could stand again, I returned to the journal. I needed to know everything, every cut, every wound, every moment she'd smiled at me while thinking of another man. 22nd anniversary coming up. Richard's planning something special, I can tell. He's so transparent. Probably dinner at Giuseppe's like every year. Maybe he'll really go crazy and order the veal instead of the chicken parm. God, I can't wait until Emma graduates high school in 6 months. Then I can finally leave. Tom's divorce should be final by then, and we've already looked at apartments. 6 months. She was running out the clock, using me for stability while planning her escape with Emma's graduation in May. The last entry was from 3 days ago. Derek ended it. His wife found out. Coward. But Tom's still in the picture, and I met someone new at the conference last week. James. Younger. Eager. Thinks I'm 35. The wedding ring didn't slow him down. Might have encouraged him. Richard's at home, probably organizing his tools in the garage for the 100th time, while I'm alive. Really alive. He'll never read this. Too respectful of boundaries. Too trusting. Too boring to imagine his wife is anything but the devoted mother and partner he sees, the perfect lie. I photographed every page, every word, every casual cruelty she documented with the same attention to detail she brought to grocery lists. Then I placed the journal back exactly where I found it, tucked behind the winter coats she'd need soon. My hands were steady now. The shaking had stopped, replaced by something cold and clear. She thought her secrets were safe in that closet. She had no idea I was about to turn them into her worst nightmare. For 3 days, I became the world's greatest actor. "Morning, honey," I'd say, kissing Laura's cheek as she rushed out for work. The same cheek that Derek, Andrew, Tom, and God knows who else had kissed. "Don't wait up tonight," she'd call back. "Client dinner." "Drive safe," I would reply. She had no idea that I knew her client's name was James and that dinner would be at a hotel bar. While she was gone, I worked. The journal came out again. I needed to be thorough. This time I brought my scanner. 600 DPI resolution. Every page, every margin note, every little heart she'd drawn next to certain encounters, the obscene poetry she'd written about her lovers, the detailed comparisons between them and me, each one more emasculating than the last. I researched printing services, settling on a boutique shop 3 towns over that specialized in custom journals. The owner, an elderly craftsman named Giuseppe, Different Giuseppe, thankfully. Didn't ask questions when I requested 10 copies of a leather-bound book. Anniversary gift, I explained to him. My wife's a writer. Beautiful, he replied, running his fingers over the sample leather. She'll treasure these. The irony almost made me laugh. I had him emboss Laura's diary on each cover in gold lettering. Classy. Elegant. Exactly the kind of thing Laura would appreciate with her newfound taste for the finer things. The transformation happening inside me was remarkable. The initial agony, that feeling of being gutted while still breathing, had crystallized into something harder. Purpose. I found myself studying Laura with scientific detachment. The way she checked her phone and smiled. The new lingerie in the laundry that I'd never seen her wear. The receipts for lunches at places she claimed she'd never been. You're quiet lately, she mentioned one evening during a commercial break. We were watching some show she'd chosen, something about beautiful people having beautiful problems. Big project at work, I replied. The Morrison Building Foundation. Oh, she responded, her attention already back on her phone. That's nice, honey. She was texting rapidly, smiling at the screen. I could see the contact name, T, Tom presumably, or maybe a new T. Did it matter? I started making calls. Mom? Yeah, I wanted to make sure you and Dad could come to our anniversary dinner, November 15th, I began. Not Giuseppe's this year? She asked. Somewhere special, I answered. Bring your reading glasses. There might be speeches. My mother was thrilled. 22 years! Richard, I'm so proud of you both, she gushed. Laura's parents were next. Her sister, Jennifer, our 3 kids, Michael, home from law school, Sarah from her engineering program, and Emma, who was finishing her senior year of high school and could drive up for the evening. The Indian patients almost always brought Sarah, who was, among others, the sweetest person. Dad, you never do anything big, Sarah said suspiciously when I called. Is everything okay? Everything's perfect, sweetheart, I assured her. I just want to celebrate what your mother and I have built. The restaurant was easy. La Bernardina, the place Laura always said was too expensive for regular occasions. I booked their private dining room. Special menu? The manager asked. Just your regular offerings, I replied. But I'll be bringing some reading material for the guests, custom anniversary gifts. How thoughtful, sir, he commented. Everyone said that. How thoughtful, how romantic, how devoted. I watched Laura lie with newfound fascination. Running to the store meant a 2-hour absence. Coffee with Jennifer? When Jennifer was posting from her vacation in Florida. Early meeting, when her office didn't open until 9 and she left at 6:30. The night before our anniversary, she modeled a new dress. What do you think? She asked, turning in front of the mirror. Too much? It was red, expensive. Nothing like the Laura who used to buy clothes at Target. But then, that Laura was fiction. This was the real woman. The one who wrote about how my touch made her skin crawl. Perfect, I said. Absolutely perfect. She smiled, pleased. I want tomorrow to be special. 22 years, Richard. Not everyone makes it this far, she declared. No, I agreed, thinking of the 10 leather-bound books locked in my office. They certainly don't. She was planning another business trip the following week, while I was planning her complete destruction. The anniversary she thought would celebrate our love would become her funeral. La Bernardina glowed with soft candlelight. I'd arrived early, placing a leather-bound book at each seat, covers face down. The manager had raised an eyebrow but said nothing. The deposit I'd paid bought privacy and discretion. My family arrived first. My parents, looking older but dressed in their best. Laura's parents next, her mother clutching a gift bag. Jennifer came with her husband Paul, then our children. Michael looked sharp in his law school interview suit. Sarah had driven 3 hours from her university. Emma, still in high school but trying to look sophisticated, wore the dress Laura had bought her for homecoming. Dad, this place is incredible, Michael said, looking around. Must be costing a fortune. Your mother deserves it, I replied. Laura arrived fashionably late, as planned. The red dress, the new perfume, the perfect makeup. She'd been at the salon. I'd seen the credit card charge. Every head turned as she entered. Oh, Richard, she gasped. taking in the private room, the flowers, the gathered family. "This is too much." She kissed me, full on the mouth, performing for our audience. I tasted someone else's morning on her lips. 22 years, I announced once everyone was seated. 22 years with this remarkable woman. Laura dabbed at her eyes. "Oscar-worthy." "I wanted tonight to be unforgettable," I continued. "I wanted to share something special with the people who matter most to us. You've all been part of our journey, our story. So I've prepared something, a gift that captures the essence of what Laura and I have built together." I gestured to the books. "Please, everyone, turn them over." Laura's diary gleamed in gold letters. Laura's wineglass stopped halfway to her lips. "Richard, what?" she began. "Page 1, I interrupted. "Let's start at the beginning." My mother opened hers first, reading aloud before I could stop her. "Finally bought this journal. Need somewhere to write what I can't say, what I can't stop doing." "Mom," I said gently, "maybe read silently first." The room fell quiet except for turning pages. I watched the faces change, my mother's confusion, Laura's mother's growing horror, Jennifer's gasp when she reached the part about being used as an alibi. "Michael," I said to my son, "page 43 might interest you. The entry about family dinners." His face went white as he read his mother's words about how boring our family meals were, how she counted minutes until she could text her lovers. "Sarah, page 87. About those business trips you were so proud of her for taking," I directed. My daughter's eyes filled with tears as she read about hotels and strange men. "Emma, sweetheart. Page 102, where she talks about waiting for you to graduate so she can leave," I added. My youngest looked up at her mother, devastation written across her 18-year-old face. "You were going to leave Dad after I graduate?" she asked, her voice breaking. "In 6 months?" Laura stood, her chair scraping. "This is... Richard, how could you?" she demanded. "How could I?" I laughed, actually laughed. "Jennifer, would you mind reading page 90? The part about Derek?" Jennifer's voice shook as she read. "Derek? Derek Hoffman. Laura, you... with my friend's husband?" she asked in disbelief. "Page 120 mentions Andrew from your gym," I told Paul, Jennifer's husband. "You might recognize the encounters she describes. Apparently she gave him your workout schedule to avoid running into you." Laura's parents were scanning pages frantically now. Her mother found the entry about their 40th wedding anniversary party and read aloud, "Had to leave early, told them Emma was sick, really meeting Tom at the Marriott, had intimacy with him, thinking about how my parents would die if they knew their perfect daughter was on her knees in a hotel bathroom." "Laura Michelle," her father's voice was ice. "Is this real?" "Daddy, she stammered. "I am hurt. Is this real?" he shouted. She couldn't answer. The evidence was in their hands, in her handwriting, dated and detailed. 2 years, I said, my voice carrying over the chaos, at least 2 years of affairs. Derek, Andrew, Tom, James, and others she didn't even bother naming. 2 years of lying to all of us, using Jennifer for alibis, using our children's events as excuses, using me as, what did you call me, Laura? Page 158? Sarah read it aloud, her voice breaking. "The human equivalent of watching paint dry. So boring, I want to scream. Thank God for Tom's or I'd go insane in this suburban prison." "Sarah!" Laura reached for her daughter. "Don't touch me," Sarah pulled back, recoiling. "Don't you ever touch me again." Michael stood, his father's height, but his mother's eyes now cold with disgust. 22 years, Mom. 22 years of Dad working himself to death for us, and this is what you were doing?" he said with contempt. "You don't understand," Laura began. "Page 212, I interrupted. "Michael, she writes about your law school acceptance celebration." He found it, read silently, then threw the book at the wall. Sat through Michael's boring speech about following his dreams. Richard actually cried when Michael thanked us. Pathetic. At least sneaking out early for Tom made the evening worthwhile, he recited from memory. Emma was sobbing now. Laura's mother held her, glaring at her daughter with a fury I'd never seen. "How?" Laura turned to me, mascara streaming. "How did you find it?" "I was organizing your closet," I said simply. "Trying to do something nice for our anniversary. Funny how trying to help you led me to the truth about what you really are." "These are private thoughts. You had no right," she protested. "Private?" Jennifer laughed bitterly. "You wrote about having intimacy with men in the bed you share with your husband. You documented using me to cheat. You celebrated deceiving your children. Private ended when you made us all fools in your story." The manager appeared, concerned by the raised voices. I handed him my credit card. "We'll be leaving shortly," I informed him. Laura looked around the table. Her parents' disgust, her sister's rage, her children's devastation, my cold satisfaction. The life she'd built while destroying our marriage was crumbling in real time. "Richard, please," she pleaded. "We can talk about this. Counseling." "Page 301, I said. "Your thoughts on counseling." She knew what she'd written. We all watched her face as she remembered. Richard suggested counseling after a fight about money, as if talking to some therapist could make him less pathetic. "The only therapy I need is Tom's dick twice a week and the countdown to Emma's graduation." "I'm done," Michael announced, standing. "I'm done with you." "We all are," Sarah added, helping Emma to her feet. "You're our children," Laura's voice cracked. "You can't just—" "Watch us," Emma said through her tears. The baby of the family, the one Laura had counted on graduating before leaving, delivered the killing blow. "I never want to see you again." They left together, my 3 children, supporting each other. Laura's parents followed without a word. Her mother left the gift bag on the table. I could see a wrapped photo album through the tissue paper. 22 years of memories that were all lies. Jennifer paused at the door. "I defended you," she said to Laura. "Every time Richard seemed stressed, I told him you were just focused on your career. I was helping you destroy him." "Jenny?" Laura started. "My name is Jennifer," she corrected coldly. "And if you ever contact me again, I'll share this diary with everyone we know." Then it was just Laura and me in the private dining room with 10 leather-bound books and the ruins of a marriage. "Why?" she whispered. "Why didn't you just confront me privately?" "Page 412, I said. "Would you like to read what you wrote about what would happen if I ever found out?" She shook her head, but I recited it from memory. "If Richard ever found out, I'd deny everything, make him think he's crazy. I'm smarter than him, always have been. I could convince him it's all in his head. Men like Richard don't leave. They forgive. They accept. They're too weak to start over." I stood, straightened my tie. "You were wrong about me, Laura, about everything. But especially about that," I declared. By the end of that anniversary dinner, Laura wasn't just exposed, she was completely erased from the life she thought was hers. The restaurant emptied slowly, other diners peering into our private room as they passed. Laura sat alone among the scattered books, her red dress a mockery of celebration. "You've destroyed everything," she said to the tablecloth. "No, Laura," I corrected her. "You did that. I just made sure everyone could see it." My lawyer, Bradley Morrison, yes, that Morrison building, was expecting my call. I'd retained him a week ago, the day after I'd finished scanning the journal. "Bradley?" "Yes, we had dinner," I reported when I called. "You can file the papers tomorrow." No reconciliation. The evidence stands." Laura looked up. "You already hired a lawyer?" she asked. "Page 290, I replied. "You wrote about planning to hide assets. I figured I should protect myself." The divorce papers were served the next morning. Bradley had worked through the night using the journal excerpts I'd provided. Adultery with multiple partners, documented in her own hand. Emotional abuse, also documented. Planned abandonment after Emma's graduation, a particularly damning detail. Not that custody mattered much for Michael and Sarah, who were adults, but Emma, at 18, could choose where to live. Michael called me that afternoon. "Dad, I'm taking a break from school for a few days. I need to process this," he explained. "Take all the time you need," I told him. Sarah was more direct. I'm blocking her number, she announced. If there's any emergency, contact me directly, Dad. Emma, my baby, surprised me most. I'm 18, Dad. I can choose where I live, she declared. I choose you. Laura fought for a week, trying to stay in the house. But the journal made it impossible. Her own words about planning to leave, about hiding money, about using the house for her affairs, it all worked against her. Her parents, Roger and Patricia, came by while she was packing. We're ashamed, Patricia said simply. We raised you better than this. Everyone makes mistakes. Laura started to defend herself. Mistakes? Roger's voice was granite. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. This is cruelty. Calculated cruelty. You're not welcome in our home, he declared. The social exodus was swift. Our couple friends chose sides quickly. Turned out, Derek's wife had found out around the same time. She'd received her own copy of the relevant pages, courtesy of an anonymous source. Tom's wife got one too. Andrew's girlfriend. Every betrayed partner received exactly what they needed to know. Laura's workplace somehow got wind of the scandal. Using company time and resources for personal affairs, documented in her own handwriting, didn't play well with HR. The promotion she'd been so proud of evaporated, followed by a quiet suggestion that she seek opportunities elsewhere. You've ruined my life, she screamed during one of her packing days. No, I corrected, folding Emma's laundry. You wrote every word that ruined your life. I just made sure people read them. The divorce was finalized in 3 months, fast-tracked due to the overwhelming evidence. Laura got what the law required and nothing more. No alimony, adultery killed that. Asset division was clean. The journal showed she'd been planning to leave anyway. The house stayed with me, as did the savings I'd built with overtime she'd mocked. Jennifer called me a month after the divorce. She's living in a studio apartment over the old Dairy Queen, she reported. Working at a marketing startup that pays half what she was making. I don't need to know, I replied. And I didn't. But Jennifer needed to tell me, needed to confirm that Karma had found her sister. The kids? She asked. They're okay. Healing, I answered. Emma's seeing a therapist. The betrayal hit her hard, especially with graduation coming up. But they're strong. They get that from you. She wrote every word that destroyed her life. I just made sure the people who mattered most read every single one. 8 months after the divorce, I stood in what used to be our bedroom, packing away the last box of winter clothes. The closet where I'd found the journal was just a closet now. No ghosts, no hidden secrets, just empty hangers and the faint smell of cedar. Emma had graduated in May, 6 months after the anniversary dinner. The very graduation Laura had been waiting for to leave us. Laura wasn't in the audience. She'd sent a card. Emma threw it away, unopened. I don't have a mother, Emma had declared. I have a dad who's worth 2 parents. Roger, Laura's father, had called that morning. Thought you should know, he began. She reached out again, wanted money. And, I asked. I told her she'd made her choices, all of them. On paper, in ink, with dates and times. He replied firmly. The town was small enough that news traveled. Laura worked at a marketing startup on Route 9 that everyone knew was hemorrhaging clients. Her studio apartment above the old Dairy Queen had become a local landmark of sorts, where the woman who had everything lost it all. Jennifer occasionally updated me, unable to help herself. Laura had tried dating apps, but gave up when matches Googled her name. Tried joining a gym, but ran into Andrew's new fiancé. Attempted a book club, but found Derek's wife was a member. Every door she tried to open had someone behind it who knew exactly who she was and what she'd done. She asked about Emma starting college, Jennifer had mentioned last week. Wanted to know which school she chose. What did you tell her? I inquired. Nothing, Jennifer replied. There's nothing to tell someone who wrote that she was counting days until she could abandon her children. The children had found their own peace. Michael was back in law school, focused on contract law. Words matter, Dad, he'd said. Mom taught me that. Every word you write can come back to define you. Sarah was excelling in her engineering program, designing bridges. I build connections that don't break, she'd told me once, and we both knew she wasn't just talking about steel and concrete. Emma had surprised us all by choosing psychology for college. "I want to understand how someone can compartmentalize like that," she'd explained. "How can you kiss your children goodbye and then write about how they're obstacles to your happiness?" I couldn't answer that. I don't think anyone could. The house felt different now. Lighter. I'd repainted, reorganized, replaced furniture that held too many memories. The kitchen, where she'd planned her deceptions while I cooked dinner, was now a space where Emma and I had tested new recipes before she left for college. The bedroom where she'd brought Derek was now just where I slept peacefully, alone, but not lonely. Sometimes I'd see her around town, at the gas station, pumping gas into a 10-year-old Honda instead of the Lexus she'd once driven. At the grocery store, buying generic brands with coupons. Once, at the bank, where she was arguing about an overdraft fee. She saw me that time, our eyes meeting across the lobby. For a moment, I saw the woman I'd married, or thought I'd married. Then I saw what she'd become. Thin, tired, wearing a coat I recognized from 3 winters ago. She opened her mouth as if to speak, then closed it. What was there to say? I walked past without acknowledging her. Not out of cruelty, but because she was a stranger now. The Laura I'd loved for 22 years had never existed. This woman, the real one, had documented exactly who she was in 512 pages of leather-bound truth. The last time Jennifer mentioned her, it was to say Laura had moved, somewhere 2 towns over, a smaller apartment, a job that paid even less. Running from a reputation that would follow her forever in the age of Google and social media. "She blames you," Jennifer had reported. "Says you destroyed her life out of spite." "She wrote the story," I replied. "I just made sure it wasn't fiction anymore." Standing in that empty closet, I thought about time and how we mistake its passage for security. Laura had believed that 22 years of marriage made her untouchable, that my predictability meant weakness, that time had made her secrets safe. But time isn't a hiding place, it's a multiplier. Every lie she told, every betrayal she committed, every cruel word she wrote, time hadn't buried them, it had compounded them. Added interest, made the final bill so large that payment took everything she had. The children still carried scars. Trust, once shattered, rebuilds slowly and never quite the same. They'd learned too young that love could wear a false face for decades, but they'd also learned that truth, however painful, was better than beautiful lies. I closed the closet door and carried the box to the garage. Winter was coming again, but I was ready for it. The house was warm, the bills were paid, and the people who mattered, really mattered, would be home for Christmas. Michael from law school, Sarah from her engineering program, and Emma from her freshman year studying psychology. Laura was out there somewhere in her small apartment, living with the consequences of every word she'd written. No family gatherings, no children's phone calls, no anniversary dinners, just the hollow echo of a life she'd hollowed out herself, documented with her own pen. She thought time made her untouchable. I proved time only made her destruction bigger. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.